Welcome back, video heads. As we mentioned at the end of our last episode, we actually did split this part up into two, and so the episode with Israel here on Fatal Attraction and me and Tommy is now going to start here on part 2. We are going to get to the rest of it for you.
Yeah, we had a lot to say. It's just that good of a film, and the original episode was going to be 4 hours and almost 45 minutes. We didn't want to torture anyone with this. We didn't want anyone to pee themselves trying to listen to the entire episode. So,
which you can still do, but frankly,
if you want to pee yourself, you pee yourself.
We kikied for
don't let me tell you what to do.
5 hours about on this, so enjoy. But yes, this is part 2 because we had to break this up a little bit.
Yeah, here we go, part 2. But it's also, again, she doesn't tell his wife. She's playing a dangerous game. She again, she doesn't want to be respected. She wants him.
Yeah. Because why doesn't she?
Over if she does that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna say, why doesn't she tell his wife? Because then it's over. Because the wife knows that's her ammo. Her ammunition is. That's the control that she has over him is I could tell her at any time.
And it's also just the tension. It's just like she has to replace this woman, but that ends it.
Yeah.
That ends it. And so it's just what a conflict.
She just like throws the phone across the room and is like, fuck, actually I can't do this because like it's like mutually assured destruction type stuff.
Yeah. So. Yeah, she would lose.
Yeah.
So Dan, probably in some fit of guilt and, like trying to make up for things, has bought a rabbit now for his totally unfortunate haircut.
Yes.
Fulfilling all of her tiny little rabbit dreams. Finally. You two can have a spherically shitting pet that, it's a lot of weird habits and can chew up all our wires in the house or whatever. Thanks for that. But we get a cool shot of the elevator rising, and it's sort of being framed in the red light as Dan sort of raises floor after floor, and we see there's nothing for multiple floors or for several shots, but then we get one of Alex just in the background, watching him sort of up there and creeping in a parking lot in a trench coat type thing.
Yeah.
This is when he's headed into the house with a rabbit and type something, and he hears a car alarm go off, and he's like, fuck, that's my car alarm, I guess. Yeah. And so he goes back. And, oh my God, someone has acided my whole car,
honestly, I wasn't sure what happened to the car. I didn't know if, the radiator was sabotaged or...
Like acid to me. It looked like something
to me, too.
Because, just people throw acid in models' faces or in various things. It just fucks up everything. But then, everything he says, he's like, it's electrical or something. And I'm like, what are you fucking talking about?
Well,
it's acid.
It looked like the radiator, and I assumed it was radiator because, again, it's more disturbed water.
Was melting.
When Alex is present, water goes crazy.
Yeah, I think it was acid, but I don't know. But
it has to be. I think we're melting.
But this is one of those scenes where here comes the silhouettes again, because there's nothing going on, and so something's about to happen. So he comes in. The guy who normally gets his car is not in his seat, so he gets his own keys, starts going up the elevator, and if you notice, it's all silhouettes, dark shadows, and red light. That's all it is.
The lighting. It's the same lighting at night at Alex's apartment. That's the exact same lighting color palette. It's those dark shadowy blacks, it's evening oranges and reds and silhouettes. We get a little whiff of Alex, her presence is being manifested.
It wasn't noted by him. He didn't see it, but she was there.
Her color palette and her disturbance of water has manifested.
And she's wearing a shenanigans trench coat, I'm up to no good trench coat, which is also funny. Yeah. Sneaking in a parking lot in her trench coat.
Yeah.
Very fetching.
Serving face. Yeah, she was totally serving face. She's on. Yeah. But he goes and looks, and of course he has to tell everyone that it's an electrical thing, because if he says, somebody threw acid on my car, of course they're gonna ask more questions. Who would do that? And then it's a mystery and call the police. He has to do something to where it's just cut and dry and nobody asks questions.
Yeah. Let's see. So
Someone threw Michael Douglas on my car.
let's see. I think at this point,
It's a cassette thing. So like,
that's right.
She leaves.
He gets
Alex following Dan, and also have a cassette tape in his car.
Yeah.
I think he picked up from like a doorman or for something.
it was delivered to his office.
Like,
It was delivered to
they
his
give
office.
it to him before he goes to get his car.
She ups her pussy in her stalking game here.
Yeah, and we see at the beginning of the film, he's like listening to a tape in headphones, so it makes sense that it's like, oh, a work tape. I got to take notes. You know, so yeah, but surprise.
Right. Well, it says like play me, Alex, and so he very much makes a choice. Again, he could almost disengage again, but he pushes it in and he engages in the situation.
Yeah.
Again, probably not completely wrong at this point. She's shown herself to like be near your family, so it's like maybe I should hear her out, maybe like something on this. But
well, again,
it's a very breathy monologue about loving Dan and wanting him inside her and bemoaning this is what she's reduced her to and stuff.
yeah,
wanting Dan to acknowledge his responsibilities.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
And at the same time, she's following him because she doesn't know where he lives yet.
Yeah.
Oh no, not the new one.
Yeah, so she's there.
Good point.
Because
with him too.
yeah, so she knows that he has to linger, get a new car, and then leave so she can follow. And at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, she's watching him listening to the tape, and how much have we wanted to play a song to somebody, a breakup song, where we want to be there watching them listening to it, even though they're never going to listen to it. And if they listen to that song, they're never going to think of you. And they're, but in your head, you just, that's your fantasy of, I just want them to cry and feel bad. And she gets the opportunity of following him and listening to him, listening to her on that tape, which I think is just beautiful.
Well, I mean, she's not.
She doesn't have a car.
She can only guess that maybe he's listening to the tape, but the audience gets this really intriguing juxtaposition of her presence in the car with him, but then her following voiceless behind him. It's again just this odd like disembodiment of her. It's just very poetic.
And it's like head type stuff.
Exactly.
It's a very telling statement in her own mind about what she's thinking about Dan when she says he needs to acknowledge his responsibilities, for instance. And she goes on to say he upended her life and won't get away with waltzing out of it. But like, frankly, in Dan's story and mine, it's the exact opposite. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you upended my life. Like,
again, it's like, are both true? Are they both true simultaneously? Is her perspective on this just as real and valid? And sure, yeah. Yeah.
She is not done yet with this tape.
No.
Oh no.
No, she
Alex goes on to say she hates Dan and accuses him of being gay and not even liking women, even calling him a flaming fucking faggot.
Yeah.
Which is the line for Dan as he's done with that tape. He busts the tape out and he's like, you know what? That's enough of that tape for me.
Well, there are two things happening. One, she's getting real petty and spiteful. It's just like, oh, you don't even like girls, huh? Yeah, I bet you're gay. You must be gay if you don't like me. That's because you're gay. It's
which is a pervasive attitude. Sabrina Carpenter has a fucking toxic song out right now where she's like, I'm so hot. If you don't like me, you're probably gay. Whatever. Like, all right, Sabrina, let's calm down.
Calm
Good
down.
Lord.
Calm.
Yeah. But at the same time, once he pops out the tape and he gets out of his car, the camera does a little rack focus, and there she is right there at the end of the hall, at the end of the driveway. Now she knows exactly where he lives.
But the other thing I was going to say with like there are two things on the tape. One, maybe he is gay, and again, kind of like a divine masculine way. He's clearly attracted to the strong woman who's like a man in every way in terms of like her again choice of verbiage, how she responds, how aggressive she is. And so again, it's like it's false, but I don't know, maybe there's something to it in this odd figurative way. It's just again everything that she says, it's like you kind of wonder if it's actually true. It seems like it could be true, and there's all this in the narrative of it to suggest that it could be true. And like once again, it's just like this like is right on the edge. It's like
Well,
it
I
seems
think he's
wild,
just-
but maybe
I think he's passive for sure.
well, again, I think that's
So maybe that's what she meant.
well, but
she was just mad about it.
yeah, and I think that's what the film means.
Yeah.
In how they're again exploring. Again, like gender, all these notions of gender, like like male versus female, active versus passive, and how they're kind of spun around a bit.
And the second thing you said.
well,
them too?
that was the second. Thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That was a lot of words without the second thing.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the second thing?
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So.
It's interesting though because Dan pops out the tape and like frankly it implies, and we do get to hear more later, but at this point I wasn't sure that there's even more rambling to be had, and I was debating or I was theorizing on what else did it devolve into, what depths of hate did she reach this recording this whole cassette tape microphone setup? She's like, "Mah!" It's like she was definitely like really hitting a fever pitch there when she's calling him like slurs and things and like.
Well, it's just how someone works himself up into a frenzy. Just when it's just they're just there with their crazy.
Yeah, by themselves.
It's true.
Yeah,
I've called my
so.
congressperson before and been like, I've called Ted Cruz and been like, I'm calmly explaining an issue, and by the end I'm just like screaming at him, he's a piece of shit, and I'm like, this. First of all, deserved, but second, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? Like, so like it's very bad, but
Yeah.
Yeah, understandable.
I'm a gay, Ted. Like,
Yeah. Oh, let's hope not.
Every Tuesday,
Let's hope
like,
not.
No.
Please be straight.
The straights can keep them.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they can keep them. Yeah. Anyway, where were we? Oh yes.
So
Fatal Attraction.
So Alex at this point, like, she's trailing Dan in his car. Dan pops a tape out, but he goes back into his family. He's like, "That's enough, Alex." And he goes inside, hands the rabbit to his child, who's like, "Oh my god, I androgynously love this." And like, it's in front of a hearth, like this beautiful fire, and the wife is there. They're all like hugging. They're like, "I love being in a family so much." And Alex is outside being like, "Ooh."
And she goes and she runs off behind a bush and throws up.
Yeah.
Dry heaves.
Again.
Runs away crying.
And again,
See, this
she
is,
she throws up, but we don't. Is it because she's pregnant or because of the revulsion and desperation she sees?
She's never seen him loving his family.
and it's just
And she hates it.
That moment, it's like it's at night. The light is warm, and it's just a perfect family scene. And it's almost it's like holy water on her almost.
Yeah.
And it's probably this is where if she has become a villain, it might be at this point. She's repulsed by goodness almost. Like she's
goodness
yeah.
that she's not a part of.
Very
because-
true, yeah. It's like something she's not.
Familyness and wholesomeness, and it's not hers. And again, kind of like at the beginning, like where we're talking about watching people get slimed on the other side of a glass screen. Here she is. She's like watching a TV, and she can't have it.
But also coming from the perspective of somebody that this person couldn't get happiness from, seeing them getting it from somebody else upsets you, because it's almost like breaking up with someone that they broke up with you, and then you see them and they're out having dinner and laughing, and you're like, I could make you laugh like that. Why could I not make you? Because that person's bringing something out of them that you could not, and it brings up this like gross emotion.
It's a very interesting thought. I mean, that's what the Madame Butterfly doll is an interesting like sort of thing to map onto it, because it's like, I made you happy for a while. Why couldn't I continue to make you happy? And the other person's like, oh, well, I was just, moving on to the next phase of my life, or going back to my life, or doing whatever else. But it's like it's abandonment, and it's love, and it's all these passion, all these things that make sense and stuff.
Yeah. But it's also anger. Beth is supposed to be Madame Butterfly, not her. She's supposed to kill herself, and Danny's supposed to go away with her. And it's just, this keeps not happening. And it's becoming solidly the other way. And the more solidly that is becoming, the crazier and more violent she's getting. Like, her fantasy is just unraveling, and it's becoming impossible to suspend disbelief. Like it's just the reality is just really setting in hard.
And at this,
see, the light at the end of the tunnel, or the life with Dan that she could see so clearly before, perhaps.
It's
and at this moment, she's lost. There is nowhere else to go. She sent the cassette tape because he no longer wants to see her. They've thought she can't call the wife and give it, and so and she threw acid on his car. She's gone over there. She sees that he's happy. So she's kind of lost. She doesn't know what else to do. The only thing she has now is, well, I know where he lives, but now what am I going to do? So she doesn't know what to do next.
What she does is now lash out in in probably the most famous way that this film has to offer. That poor rabbit.
No. We're going to go back first because we can't skip this. So Dan goes back to listen to that fucking tape again.
That's
He puts his little cute headphones on again, where in some sort of masochistic need to hear what comes after, I guess.
He is continuously intrigued by how much she wants him, and he can't let it go. And it's fundamentally it's his fatal flaw. He keeps.
But it also might be insight to. I mean, it might be knowledge that he needs to know. Like, oh my gosh, she's nuts.
Because she's now an active threat. She's now very.
I would listen to it. I would listen to it just to know.
It's passionate enough to make me a fucking tape, and like these things were going, But it talks about how, so he starts to tape back in the middle, like into stuff we've heard before, like quotes where she was saying what we listened to in the car. But funny enough, they do not have the hard F homophobic slur drop again, where they're probably like, I don't know if we can afford 2 faggots in this movie or whatever. They do have like the homophobic insinuations come. They had a line or two of that, and then they fully skip that one and they move on to the next bit where they have the. She talks about how, he probably doesn't like girls, blah, blah, blah. Moving into another bit of dialogue about how Dan sucks and she hates him and stuff. But I was like, that's just curious. Like, even then when I was like, I want to be a little homophobic, but like, that's too homophobic. In 1987, they're like, I can't have 2 faggots in my movie.
Well, and Danny, he's maybe a little narcissistic, and this is where we kind of see it. He's intrigued by this tape. It's not just he's not listening to it just out of fear. He's intrigued. Like I really think that just even toward to the very end, he's really intrigued by how much this woman wants him. It's like and it's kind of perverse and it's real toxic, and like he shouldn't keep inviting her into his headspace, at all. But he keeps doing it. Like he's intrigued, and that's why he's listening to the tape again. Like he has his headphones on, like in the beginning scene, to block his family out. Once again, he's blocking his family out so he can concentrate on something else. So he's. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I would use the word intrigued, but
touches his arm and shocks him out of it. His wife touches him while he's listening to Alex. And like, oh fuck! Like I'm doing a thing again.
Startled by the presence of his wife again. He's just really into Alex in dark ways.
Well, but he thought there for a minute. I'm sure he thought she was going to come out of the cassette and like attack him. Yeah. Because it's getting to killer mode. Yeah. Like this is where the horror begins. Yeah. There's suspense. There's real like threats here and horror elements where he's jumping. And I'm sure at that moment in the theater when people are watching it, everyone screamed, because it's turning into a horror movie, which I'm loving.
Yeah. No, I mean, like she sabotaged his car. Like it's like now we're to the property damage phase of this.
It's getting to where she's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, she has presented danger in material space. Like it's not theoretical. She has sabotaged his car now. Yeah. But it gets better.
He's done with that. Yeah, he touches his arm. He's like, "Oh my god, I'll deal with that later, whatever." But like,
she wants to give him a massage.
He sort of explores his legal options with the policeman, this wildly unhelpful policeman who we see in 2 separate scenes. But in this first scene, he lays out all these things that have happened so far, and the policeman kind of like shrugs at him and is like, "I don't know what you want me to do about this," and he's like, "What? Like, what do you mean?"
Again, Danny doesn't practice law. He just advises on it, and now when he's confronted with the need to apply it, he doesn't know what the hell to do at all.
Police officer's like, you literally have to catch her in doing something crazy, and he's like, that sounds crazy, and he's like, I know.
It's like, well, that's the law for you, Mr. Lawyer.
That is
like,
the law.
Maybe you should have been practicing it.
Yeah,
the whole
but
time.
it also makes you think that, everything that has happened up until now is not necessarily illegal. Like, everything is fine.
No.
So the cop is kind of right.
It's true. No bunny's been boiled, no locks have been broken yet, or something.
Well, I mean, there's car sabotage. So
Well, the worst he's done is just call his office and house and certain things, like,
Right.
to the point.
but it's not like he'd be able to prove that it was her, and so
Right.
it happened to his car,
the car thing is worse.
but he doesn't have
Yeah.
proof of it.
But if anyone's done anything illegal, it's him breaking into her house.
no, exactly. If there's any,
That's true.
yeah,
That's very true.
again,
So
if there's
that's why
any,
he can't bring that up.
yeah, if there's anyone who's not being discreet, if there's anyone who's not following the law, if there's anyone who doesn't appear to even know what the law is, it's Danny. If there's anyone who's jeopardizing a family, it's Danny.
What makes her more clever than him. And that's what makes her even scarier
Oh, yeah.
because she knows what she's doing. She's smart. She's smarter than him.
She's better. Yeah, she's better. Everything that he can do, she can do better.
Yeah.
But in a way that's dark and fucked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we then see the family back at home. Honestly, this is a scene I was kind of confused about. I'm not sure what the purpose of the scene is, but I'm kind of struck again by how much this girl looks like the berries and cream lad in the scene. She has a little neck piece and outfit. It's blue again. Like this whole I don't think we talked about it. We might, but like at various points, this child has been dressed extremely tomboyish, baggy, or just like masculine clothing type something. Again, there's nothing transphobic in my heart about how the way I talk about this girl or whatever. It's just a very androgynous child in that way, and both haircut, dress, like how this is happening, how it's presented, her interests, like there's not really any focus on it at all. There's hardly any like time for this child in the movie, but it's almost just it's just striking in a way.
The child is gender ambiguous, and for being a daughter, there's no pink anywhere near her. She's not pink coated.
She's blue in this scene.
Yeah, if anything, blue is her color, not pink. Like it's, and I think that the daughter is a symbolic device. The daughter introduces the idea of gender ambiguity. And just kind of in a like a literal kind of simple way of that. Oh, it's kind of a tomboy, got a tomboy haircut and is wearing blue and doesn't play with dolls.
And
really,
what's the scene?
Well, they're coaching her to like propose to somebody.
Oh yeah. It's a school play. It's a school play, and she's playing a pilgrim. Yeah,
that makes more sense because I was like, is she proposing to a family friend or using a child as her proposal proxy? That's what I put down.
And I took that scene as, once again, all of this madness has happened, that the moment he is back in normal mode with his family, he really is appreciating even more of what he has. Like, he's regretting what he did because he's like, oh, look at all of this. Why did I ever go to do that?
Right.
Look at how wonderful this is. She's practicing for a play and she did a good job here. He just wants to give her a big hug and he's just like regretting what he did.
But again, also in a way, like what a great film. There are so many of these little touches in all these scenes where it just seems kind of like a random element, but it's coherent and it actually fits the kind of design pattern or whatnot. And even a moment where they're just practicing for a school play, she's being rehearsed on how to propose. She's being taught gender. And again, it's like she's the most gender ambiguous character in the film. And here's a scene of her being
she did say something
taught
there,
gender. It's like
proposing to him or to her, or like to something else, like
to suggest, there's nothing automatic about gender. This is just it's learned and it's ambiguous. It just
when you think about it, if you took those two scenes out, where he's appreciating her when she's getting ready, his wife, and then the little girl that when she's practicing for the play, if they didn't have that, his his mind would be 100% focused on Alex, that he would be ignoring his family. These show that he does enjoy being with his family and is regretting it. You need these scenes to reestablish his love and his wish of, I want nothing ever evil to happen to my family. That's the last thing I want. I love my family. I love my life.
And his family, that life is still going on even when he's constantly being pulled away by Alex.
Yeah.
And it just highlights that. Again, what's at stake. And it's
Yes, exactly
This
what's at
life,
stake.
this life that's still going on, it's still happening, even though all this other crazy shit's going on. And it just kind of highlights the urgency and the danger too.
Yeah, we as the
you know?
audience need to see that.
Yeah.
So Dan and Ellen are outside after returning home while Beth comes home alone. They're kind of just playing outside, and this is where Beth finds a pot boiling on the stove that she does not quite recognize.
Yes.
And it's like, weird, someone is cooking in my house
Ooh.
when we were gone or whatever. And at the same time, little Ellen runs up and is like, my rabbit friend, I hope my rabbit friend is ready to play.
Oh, God.
Poor Beth approaching the pond.
Yeah.
It up. It's the rabbit. It's poor little rabbit. This was the hard-fought rabbit. We had to convince Dad to get us here, and then
Yeah, if you ever heard someone described as a bunny boiler, well, now you know why.
Bunny boiler in the making.
very popular UK term from a stalker X based on this movie.
I have used
it.
I have used it since the 80s. I have used it. I'm like, that is a bunny boiler in the making.
blind spot movie.
Yeah.
Maybe I heard and I didn't attribute it to this particular movie.
And I also have a T-shirt that has a bunny on it, and it says boiler under.
Boiler.
Oh, no.
So the cool people would get it. Now y'all are cool because y'all will get it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about this scene is, once again, in the directing, and just like right before he found his car with the acid, it starts off quiet. You just hear the birds. They drive up.
Yep.
Nothing's happening.
Pretty.
They're getting out. They're going in their yard. Nothing is happening. The camera is just doing slow little pans across the room as Beth is walking in the house. She's starting to just turn on lights. Everything is just calm for like 30, 45 seconds. So you know something is happening, just like a horror movie. The tension is there, the suspense is there, and then you just hear the boiling, and then almost like the water like spewing out of it, or almost like a whistle.
Percolating.
The percolating.
Yeah.
And the camera, is getting Beth walking to the pot as the little girl is running to the cage simultaneously. So you know what's about to happen. So it's not a surprise. You just are waiting for it to finally reveal itself.
Yeah.
Done, yeah.
Yes, and you're like, no, please no. She's running to the. What did they do to this poor bunny? Oh my God, it's a boiling pot. No, please no, please no.
Like,
so
God, it wasn't Quincy.
Yeah.
exactly. So it was done
jeez.
really well.
God. Yeah. Boy,
That scene, I think, starts with Quincy like laying on the floor, like he looks like he's been poisoned or dead, like he's probably just sleeping. But I was like, Quincy, no! Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. So that one, the end of it right there is great because now, oh shit has hit the fan.
well, she's done a tiny murder. She's escalated. She's another rung up on the crazy stalker ladder.
We thought we had hit a threshold the first time, but oh boy, we were wrong. Now we have animal murder.
And now the Beth has witnessed it, so now she has questions. What's she gonna say?
Which is why he's like, we need to talk.
Yeah, because there's nothing. He cannot keep it from her anymore. Like it's like shit.
There's no way to explain the presence of this other than the truth. There's just no plausible story for this. And again, great symbolism. Alex's element, disturbed water, has manifested in
the boiling water.
in his home, but also in his home life. You know, like her presence is now in his life in a way that it's not just her body, it's her element. It's actually more essential. Even. Like in a like Yeah, just almost metaphysically, she's now present.
Yeah. And then the next scene is raining.
Yeah, again, turbulent water again. Yeah.
Rain reveals he had an affair with Alex to Beth, and Beth is kind of like, do you love her? Like, is this still happening? And he's like, I'm definitely not in love with her. And Beth rightfully asks why this was revealed now and what it has to do with the murder rabbit situation. Like, she's like, cool story. What the fuck just happened in my kitchen?
Yeah, and again, another great moment of symbolism. It's Alex and Beth together in that room. The door's open and the storm is outside, and so inside versus outside, and with the thinnest barrier possible now, because there's basically no barrier now. Outside is inside. The storm has made its way in, and so just visually, just beautiful.
So
beautiful,
he goes and closes the door, and this is, of course, the moment that everyone in the audience is like, okay, how are they going to say it? How is he going to tell her? And it's really interesting because the more I've watched the movie, even today, even though I've seen it, since it came out in '87, when he tells her, and she says, did you call the police? And he says no, and she says, why not? And he says, we have to talk. And then he says, I know who did this. And she says, okay, you're scaring me, because that's all he says. And just that line of her saying, you're scaring me, just like really hit me, because I thought, yeah, she's really scared. And she's saying it with a little smile because she's nervous. And then, he says, remember that woman that came over? And she says, the one with the blonde hair. He doesn't say anything else. She just kind of sits there and gathers, from all the options. Yeah. And then she's like, did you have an affair with her? And he's like, yes. Because at that moment, he doesn't hesitate.
Show me having an affair.
Yeah. He does not hesitate, because at that moment he's thinking, my family could die. This woman is crazy. So this is the easy part, telling her, yes, I had an affair, because there's so much more I have to tell you. So the moment when he just says yes, she stops. She doesn't go crazy. As a kid, I thought, oh, she's going to go nuts. But no, she doesn't. Because as an adult now, I'm thinking, she thinks he's leaving her. So when he says, yes, blonde woman, she kind of cowers down and looks down, and she says, are you in love with her? And then when he says, no, it was just a one-night thing. So then she's a little relieved. And then what does that have to do with everything? And then he says she's pregnant. Right. That's when it sets her off. And she's like, oh, crap, because that means...
Get the fuck out of my house.
Exactly. Yeah, so they're yelling and screaming. And then it gets me teary-eyed every time, because that little kid can act. Because when that kid...
You want to hear why this happened? So the child clutching the little stuffed unicorn or whatever she's got there, we are shown in the movie, that is the child's reaction to the parents fighting, to Beth telling Dan to get the fuck out of the house, blah, 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 whatever. In real life, the director was bullying the child and yelling at her, saying he was going to steal that stuffed animal and destroy it, which is why the child is clutching the stuffed animal and crying and is very upset.
God.
He wrung that performance out of the child.
Wow. And then I hope he said, I'm kidding.
Well... This child's audition was actually done in part because this child was like, I'm shocked I got this, and I don't know what happened. And they were like, how did you audition for this movie? And they were like, well, I had my stuffed animal here, and they took it from me, and they threw it in the trash, and they said it was gone forever. And they were in her little interview in her videotape. It's like, and you could just see my lip quivering and my eyes crying, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Israel, why are you directors such scumbags?
I know. Directors are terrible.
Why are directors the absolute?
We're awful.
Absolute worst.
Wow.
I mean, God, we were talking about this with The Mummy. Jeez, what Brendan Fraser was put through. Well, God damn.
Brendan Fraser nearly died from hanging himself.
Yeah.
The Mummy's director took out kidnapping insurance on the whole cast without telling them, because they were in dangerous territory.
Oh my God.
Man, God, directors are just sacks of shit.
I have to say, it made the scene work.
But that made that child act perfectly.
Wow.
Well, you can't make an omelet without traumatizing a child for life. So there you go.
Wow.
Steal that unicorn.
I'm gonna rip
I'm gonna
this
fucking
and
kill this
it.
unicorn. And
The
action.
unicorn.
Yeah. Ooh,
Wow, but it's a very effective scene.
wow.
So I
Yeah.
was kind of tickled to find that out when I was looking.
Wow, I never knew that.
That's
Never knew that. Thank you, Kyle.
Well, now whenever you're like, what a great acting job that child's done. Know that the terror is real.
Yeah.
Aw.
So
You really brought us down, Kyle. Wow,
we're gonna dig
jeez.
out of this hole here. So Tanner reveals Alex is pregnant. Beth tells him to get the fuck out. Genderless child cries as they fight and packs a bag to go stay at the hotel, presumably. And he kind of like looks in on the child and is like, my life, like the thing I could have, like whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
and the poor little girl's asleep.
Yeah, she's
It's like,
late, looking
aw.
just terribly cute, and so like
Yeah.
he leaves, though. He goes to the hotel, and the next day Dan calls Alex and tells her it's over, and that Beth knows though. I don't know if Beth's at the hotel or where this happened. It's some sort of neutral ground, seemingly something, but
Yeah, no, I think it happened immediately before he leaves.
Yeah.
no, it was daytime in this though. Like it was nighttime when he was left, and so it seems like there was a separation of at least the nighttime to me.
Yeah, it seemed a little ambiguous. I don't know if he was just back at the house or still
And
there.
later, I
Yeah,
have it noted down in the scene where it's just Beth and the daughter at the home, where I don't think she's quite welcomed him back yet. So that's why I don't know where it took place. But essentially, it is Dan and Beth calling Alex to be like, hey, she knows you have no leverage over me.
Yeah.
And like, this is where, and Jesus Christ, this is the first time on record I have Beth's name being said out loud.
Yeah.
In the whole movie, mind you.
That makes sense because would this be the first time that Danny calls Alex? Because it's always the other way around. And so is this maybe
Yeah, I
also
think
the
so.
first time?
Well, the only reason I
Find her
say
name.
it's right after the argument is it's been raining. It's during the day. It's raining. Then they have the argument, and then it stopped raining, but Beth is still in her same clothes.
Okay. Yeah. So.
So that because it wouldn't make sense that she would invite him back just to call her.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm open. To
Okay.
this. So
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like,
I think
that makes sense.
because it's
yeah.
an odd, like, they're together, and then obviously he's not welcome in the house type situation.
Yeah, no, he called her there, which is a great scene because it's all about the women, and you're rooting for Beth now. She's becoming more important.
Well, that's what this whole scene is, and I have a lot to say about this at the end that I will, if you know about it, cool. If not, I'll rug pull you over. But essentially, this got a lot of applause from audiences whenever Beth gets the phone and says,
Yeah.
This is Beth Gallagher. Again, first time her name is said the fuck out loud in the whole movie. And she goes, if you ever come near my family again, I'll kill you, you understand?
And then just
audiences
hangs
are
up.
like, oh my God.
yes! Yeah, she's
Like,
fighting for her family.
And
This
so,
bitch is mad.
Go off, girl. I have written down. But this blonde ringlet having hussy is trying to steal your man and waking you up at 2 a.m. with weird phone calls. Fuck her. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
but Beth is still sad though, and has not let Dan back in the house fully.
Yeah.
As mentioned.
You know, and that's I'm glad you brought that up about the character Beth. You know, and when Danny is revealing that he had an affair, it's her that asks, "You had an affair?" Because he won't say it. It's left to her to say it. And just once again, just Danny's what a schmuck. He couldn't just say, "Beth, I had an affair." He had to kind of goad her, like tease her into saying it, and then he confirmed with the implication that if she hadn't said it, he wouldn't have confirmed it. It's like, oh my God, like what a lawyer to the end. Just God damn it. Yeah. So it's just like, yes, Beth, strong character, and again, I throughout the film I was rooting for his family. I don't know if I was rooting for Danny though.
Yeah,
So-
but we needed that from Beth though, because Alex had the power, and then once it's revealed and Beth knows, Beth could have, and this is again probably with the directing too, and then her as the actress. That line could have been delivered in lots of ways. I'm gonna kill you, blah blah blah. No, she got it. She said it calmly and hung up, and that made the difference. That probably made the audience clap and go yes, because she said it calmly, like, bitch, I'm not even going to yell at you. I'm just going to tell you right now, like the way it is. And that's what made it work.
Yeah. No. If that line was delivered with sass, or anger, it would have been.
She just said it because she meant it.
Yeah.
And that's all she had to say.
Yeah.
And then she just hung up. Didn't wait for a response, nothing. I'm just telling you what's going to go on. Bam.
Then he's gone, and what we see next is her essentially crying in the car, going to pick up Ellen from school, and then finding out Ellen has been kidnapped, which gives her more reason to cry in the car, frankly. If you needed more. But poor Beth, you didn't do anything to deserve this, frankly. But,
Yeah. So
neither of you have seen Righteous Gemstones, have you?
Just I think the first episode. I think we watched the first episode.
The funniest fucking character in the show called Judy Gemstone, and she has a monologue in the first season where she goes off about how she just loved her teacher and had a whole snail trail and made all of her chairs damp when he was and made out once or something. I don't know. But after that, when he was like, no, I have a family and a child and I can't be with you. You're like a 15-year-old girl or something. She kidnaps his son and then like takes him off and then was just like, we were having a great time. And then all of a sudden the police come up and take him away from me and they say, I can't see this guy anymore. And like, it's a very funny fucking moment.
Oh my God. I bet that was inspired by Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction moment.
Because this whole Fatal Attraction, because Alex has picked up the child now. Like Alex is taking old Ellen to a theme park type something.
Yeah,
and it's definitely the thing running through my mind.
Yes.
Oh God, what a again. Said this a million times. What a great scene. But yeah, just what. Oh my God. Again, and I keep hammering away at this point. Just something that could just be read in two wildly different ways. We have what might be going through Alex's mind, which is I'm gonna get to know my beloved's child, and the child's gonna get to know me, and we're gonna hit it off, and I'm gonna be this child's new mother. Won't that be sweet? And so let's go to the part.
That's not it.
Yeah. Well. Again, with Alex, it's both. It's both menacing and very aggressive and very threatening, but also oddly sweet and endearing, and it's simultaneously those things.
Yeah.
It's just,
that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's after what was it? What was the last crazy thing she did? It was the bunny.
Yeah.
The bunny.
Yeah.
So now. She did that, and now the wife knows. So game over for her.
Yeah.
So now she's no longer, in a way, concerned about him liking her again. She's now going into psychotic mode.
Yeah. She's no longer trying to lure Danny. She's going after the wife now. It's like she's going after the wife's position before ultimately just coming after her directly. But like she's trying to take the wife's position as mother, in a very just crazy and aggressive and psychotic way.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
she wants to mess up.
This scene is wild, where she's like, "I'm your mother now," and she's like, "Can I have a kiss at the end?" type stuff, when she's dropping her off. Well, it's like, "Ooh."
Yeah, and it just in grand symbolic fashion. I mentioned how I felt that Ellen, the child, had a haircut very similar to Danny's, right? That they looked oddly similar. They kind of dress oddly similarly. And in this very odd way, Alex is taking Ellen on the wild ride that she's been taking Danny on. Like Ellen is on a roller coaster, and it's like, oh, cool, roller coaster, but she has no idea how crazy this ride really is. She has again, something objectively happening in two entirely different readings of it. It's like she has no idea how crazy what she's in is, kind of like Danny, like this whole time.
That's another brilliant thing about the writing in this movie is, she could have easily gone and grabbed Ellen and like kidnapped her and yelled and done all this stuff, but no, all she did was she went and picked her up and took her in an amusement park and let the madness happen just by her being gone. It is so simple and psychotic.
It's chilling too, because is she gonna do anything with that child? No, she didn't do anything with that child. Like she took her to have a fun time, but it's still chilling. Like it's just still horrifying.
Like, is she gonna throw her out of the roller coaster? Is she gonna
just that she again is either utterly immoral or just amoral because she's crazy. She either is just hateful and has no problem kidnapping a child, or she's just delusional and she thinks that this is truly an endearing gesture, and it's just, I don't know which would be worse. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
It's also a great 80s moment when they're like, oh, we don't have like records or photographs of who should pick up a child.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What a different time. Hi, I know this child. Give them to me.
Sure.
Thanks.
Positive that you picked her up already, and the mom's like, I did not, and the teacher's like, are you sure?
Are you sure though?
She said she was Mrs. Whatever.
Because someone just told me that they were you. Are you sure that wasn't you? Are you sure?
Yeah. And again, and the moment she finds her missing and she's running through the school hallways to look for her, the camera cuts back to the people watching her run, and they're all dark and silhouetted.
Yeah.
It's just another haunting scene of, she's lost and
she's alone.
Yeah, she's alone.
She's alone, and everyone in her life that she cares about is suddenly gone. Her husband and now her child. And she's just running about town wild and crazy and in a panic.
And gets in an accident.
So, yeah, because that's what happens.
She
the roller coaster girls are having a great time,
Yeah.
whereas Beth here is looking frantically side to side. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? And then rear-ends somebody to red light.
Yeah, but she almost, in a way, gets Madame Butterflied. Her child goes somewhere else, and she almost dies. That's the basic outline of the end of Madame Butterfly, except it's not suicide. She didn't die by her own hand. So it's
commit seppuku by Cadillac or whatever.
so it's it's like Alex almost made the ending that she wanted happen, almost, but it didn't happen according to the movie, and so it's like it was like an imperfect instance of it, and so so it didn't quite happen. Got close.
She probably wouldn't have gotten Dan ultimately, but in her mind, she's like, if I make this happen, then this will happen next, and something, and so
she's clearly intelligent, because I guess this would be a step-by-step plan to make all this happen.
Yeah,
I guess
I saw her. She takes the daughter, and she's like, whatever happens when they're out there trying to look for her. If they get hurt or not, I don't care.
Well,
but I'm just gonna take her and bring her back.
And perhaps to her, the only person who would be hurt by that would be the other woman.
Yeah.
Because hey, Danny's in love with her, clearly, and the child will clearly love her, because clearly, and so again, this other woman was supposed to have Madame Butterflied themselves already, so. Yeah, but again, that's just even more chilling. So it's just, either way, it's chilling, either because she doesn't know what she's doing or she very much knows what she's doing. So, but
I mean, it's very, it's a power play, and Alex, she does a lot of power plays throughout this type thing, especially, I mean, when I brought up the give me a kiss type thing, it's like, it's not actually employing violence most often. She has been shown to employ violence from time to date in the movie, but she's really getting under people's skin and like doing these with like subtle power plays. And again, not really being illegal mostly. Yeah. Kidnapping, kind of illegal. We'll file that into a gray area.
Yeah.
In the 80s schools, maybe should have been a little more.
I don't know. I don't know. See, I don't know if that's a gray area. This is again like the trajectory that she's getting ever more.
The kidnapping, I mean,
ever more overt.
Where she's like, you shouldn't do that.
To the point of the movie, this is where Dan is like, oh, fuck no, like, you don't kidnap my child. And this is where I believe the second part happens, where he is now back at Alex's apartment.
Yes.
The key is missing. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
It's not there this time.
Yeah.
She knows.
Yeah.
Let us protect myself.
Again,
I am playing games with somebody.
She is not unintelligent. Mm-hmm. She is not unintelligent.
Yes. So he's waiting outside the building, waiting, just kind of walking around, waiting for someone to walk out. And the moment a group of people, he slips in.
Speaking of silhouettes, I don't think they actually show Michael Douglas' face in this. It is a very dark scene where he slips in.
He is stalking her this time.
Because she just messed with the family, and Beth got hurt. Yeah. So he is pissed off like he has not been pissed off before.
Yeah. Well, in some way, it's a great moment of inversion. His infatuation with her was about, I would argue, her regarding him as a man, as a passionate man, and now here he is very much as a passionate man, but it's on totally different terms. Like just the situation, it's kind of the same for him, but also no, it's not. It's utterly different now. He's stalking her. She's locking her door, trying to keep him out. She doesn't know that he's coming and is like right there. Like it's like he's now the threat, or I would say almost like we think
it's
that
true. I mean,
maybe
shows that he is not quite to her extremes, I suppose, because he pulls back at the end ultimately. Yeah, whereas she has been balls to the wall. I'm going to commit fully to the.
Yeah, he knocks on the door to lure her, which again he's luring her now.
But also keep in mind, all she knows is I picked up the little girl and I dropped her off. Things happened and they're probably pissed off. Yeah. She doesn't know that the wife's gotten hurt. She doesn't know that he's that pissed off. She knows he's upset, but as far as she knows, nothing happened except for, oh, she's back now. Mm-hmm. It was that crazy bitch. And that's all she's thinking. Yeah. So he slips in. Yeah.
Well, not so much. Basically knocks on the door to lure her to the door. And when the chain, like, has a door chain on, she opens it to peek. And then like, bam! Pounds on the door, throws her back. He pounds on it again and finally breaks it open. And that's when the melee begins. He's as chasing her. He's joking around. And stuff. Yeah, they're
and then she's like harder.
Yeah, she
well, he has his life in her hands like several times, but ultimately can't go through with it.
Yeah, like they're all going all over the place. They're throwing each other about. They're fighting, but he finally gets his hands around her neck and is trying to throttle her and strangle her and has a absolutely crazy look on his face.
Oh yeah, so I have to say this was the first movie that I had ever seen where I saw grown ass adults like wrestling around frantically, kicking their feet and their hands to get away from each other because they're trying to kill each other. Like I had never seen that before, and I was just like, oh my god, because when he pushes that door, I mean, he just waits. He goes and rings the doorbell and just waiting because he's already like getting his body ready. The moment she just opens it up, boom, before she can think, pushes her back. And like you said, she's scrambling and she keeps getting away. She's kicks him in the balls. He's grabbing her. There's windows being broken inside. Yeah. It's just a frantic mess. He grabs her head and smashes it up against, the glass. Yeah. All of this until they, end up in the kitchen. Yeah. And he's choking her. And that's the moment that he can actually kill her. And he's like, she is not worth it. I'm not going to go to prison for this, is what I'm thinking.
Again, he can't take himself to the place that Alex does almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just he has a moment of clarity. And just realizing,
what am I doing?
Once again, oh my God, what's happening? Kind of like in the elevator where he just has this look where it's just like, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing? Like he kind of has that moment of again with a moment of passion with Alex. He's once again realizes like, my God, what have I become? Like who am I? Like who am I?
Toxic. They've both gotten toxic.
It's very much that because he's like on top of her, choking her when he's like having these realizations where he's like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" Like I was just having a good old time. My dick said, "Hey, let's go do this and stuff."
But also again, as was established early in the film, he does not practice family law, and in a primordial sense. Like if you're a man and a husband, you defend your family. That is family law. Yeah. That is primordial family law. And even in this moment, he just can't quite go all the way through. He can't just kill her and finally protect his family.
Right.
He just
he loosens it up, and she's coughing, he's coughing. She goes and again goes to the sink and starts drinking the water out of the sink.
yeah.
We see a knife. It's like a Chekhov's gun or knife in this instance. Chekhov's knife. And like Jan's sort of like going to leave, but Alex like grabs it and is like, "Rah, I'm gonna stab you in the back." And Dan ultimately wrests it from her and is like, just like, no, let's not do that. But and I have this written down. I said it worries me because Dan wrests the knife away from her, has his fingerprints on it, and just like sets it on the counter. And there's this whole like minute long, if not longer, I feel like silence laden scene where he's got the knife, he sets it down, he and Alex are making eye contact, and there's this whole unspoken like thing happening in 60 seconds where he's just like, he does come to these realizations. He's like, what have you driven me to? I'm going back home. I'm never coming back to you. And all this is wordlessly said type shit where Alex is understanding like, what have I driven you to? You're probably not going to come back to me type shit. Like, it's a very...
Again, I got to disagree with that.
Go ahead. Absolutely disagree with me. I just think there's a lot said in these silences. Or like,
and her face in that scene, I use it as my banner during Halloween, and I say "Happy Halloween," where she just has that look after he's wrestled the knife away from her.
Interesting. Like,
she's lost it. She is.
Interpret me, Daddy. Go on. What do you?
Yeah. So what do you think?
I honestly, I think they again. I'm becoming a broken record. It's one of these things where objectively they have the same experience, but they totally read it in different ways. They're both basically thinking to each other, "You just won't quit," and Danny is thinking, "Jesus, woman, you just won't quit, will you? You are crazy. You're crazy." Mm-hmm. And Alex is thinking, "You won't quit me. You won't quit me. You even now, you've proven that you won't quit me. Like, you didn't kill me. You still won't quit me."
Which is reference another line that comes up with the movie. You know, like but it's very interesting because I mean I even have in my notes like he can't seem to find the words to say what he wants to say to her and vice versa. Where I think that's very akin to this or like sort of going with that theory of like. He thinks one thing. He's like, "Wow, you're fucking crazy. I'm leaving. I'm not going to murder you, but you're crazy." And she's like, "Oh, you're so dreamy." Well,
yeah.
It's like, shit he didn't murder me. He loves me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shit like that.
Throughout this film, words have failed. Throughout the film, they keep talking past each other. They keep saying the same word, and it has totally different meanings. Words, and these are two very literary people. Their careers are about words, and words have just failed them both. And at this scene at the end, they're just wordless. They have no words anymore.
So and I kind of agree with both of you when it comes to like what they're saying when they're walking away, because I agree that he's like, "You have lost it." He's thinking in his mind, "You have lost it now. I'm never coming back. I want nothing to do with you." And in her head, she's thinking, "Oh yeah, no, it's not over. It's not over, and you know it." Yeah. And I'm in heaven.
You could have ended it in the most definitive way possible.
And that's why she's smiling, and she's just going, do whatever you think you're going to do, because we're going to end up here again.
Yeah, her look is one of pure love. Pure love, and it's so creepy because it's in that moment that she has that look, and it's wild-eyed as much as it is dewy-eyed. It's just,
but also
choked out. Yeah, I mean, she's still certainly got a lot of that. Yeah,
and it has some
passion, all these things in her and stuff. Like
sadness is on her face too, because she's smiling, but it's got a sadness to it too.
Yeah.
So she's just lost it.
Again, it's all these things simultaneously because she's just that complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he leaves.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
So this is knife down. He's gone. He literally. This is like a 2-minute scene of the silence and the back out. Like he's like slowly backing out of the apartment type stuff. But after that, this is when he goes back to the useless policeman. "Hello, I would like a police, please." And the policeman's like, "Whoa. Calm down." And he's like, "Hang on, like, I would like a police." And he's like, they're like, "Well, did she do anything?" And he's like, "I mean, kind of. Like, she did a kidnapping and a tiny murder and all this stuff." And he's like, I guess we'll bring her in for questioning. And he's like, will that help? And he's like, probably not. It's like,
Probably gonna make it worse.
Very frustrating scene with the police. Dan is like, will you help me? And the guy's like, probably not. That doesn't sound like us. Like, probably wouldn't do that. But...
Well, and again, it's the limits of the law. You know, it's just that Danny can't keep dodging. The police can't really help him. It's not that they don't want to, but
He just didn't seem to give a fuck though. Like we watched this right 10 minutes before we started recording this, the ending, and it was purely as if the cop was like, well, she's not stalking me and my family. Like he was like, that doesn't seem like my problem.
Well, I will say, unfortunately, from experience in my past, when there are big disputes or arguments or fights in relationships, the cops. You pretty much have to be stabbed in your neck before they step in, because of the whole thing where they, arrest him, he's trying to kill me. And then when they're going to arrest him, they're like, no, but I love him. It's because of those people.
Yeah.
It's like, so if it's a domestic dispute, they want nothing to do with it. What? He beat the crap out of you? Tough.
Yeah.
Because you won't arrest him. You won't press charges.
And one has to imagine that's probably the cop's perspective. Is just like,
yeah.
Oh boy, some more domestic drama.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So I understood it. I'm like, oh yeah, I get the cop. I totally get where the cop's coming from.
I don't get it in that sense. Like, I mean, because it's a very he said, she said type thing, and they're reluctant to insert themselves and whatever. And it's like, you have to give me something. But also, I mean, to that point, he couldn't connect Alex to the tiny furry murder on his stove necessarily, or the car wreck was not Alex's fault necessarily, or something.
Right.
It's a
The
very
kidnapping,
hard to
though.
pursue legal recourse aside from the kidnapping, which I don't even know if they necessarily got her with that. It's not like everybody had ring cams back then. It's like Ellen could be like, "That's the lady," but that's the '80s justice you get. Like that's all you have. The '80s for a hotbed of murder because they were like, "Well, shrug our shoulders." Like,
because I think that's why the cop says at that moment and that second visit to the cop, when Michael Douglas says, "Hey, she was kidnapped. That there's something there." That's when the cop says, "All right, we'll bring her in." We'll question her. Right. We can't do anything, but we'll question her.
Almost reluctantly.
Yeah,
exactly. Fine.
Yeah, so I think, but that's what it was. If it was anything else, he probably would have said, you can't prove it. But the school being able to witness saying, Miss Gallagher did not pick her up, somebody else did, and this guy is saying that it's her, we'll bring her in for questioning. We can't say she did it, but we'll bring her in for questioning, and that's when he's satisfied. He's like, yes, bring her in. Well, but if she comes in here, you'll see she's nuts.
But also the cop ominously declares, well, we could, but you might just piss her off even more.
Yeah. And then there's a really great line where he says, I forgot what he says, and the guy's like, hey, he slept in, or you made the bed, now you got to sleep in it.
Well, he was trying to describe it as his friend or whatever, the classic, like, my friend did this, and the guy was like, well, your friend made his bed, he's probably lying.
Which is true, because I'm sure the audience is thinking that too. Dude, you caused this. You had a say in this. You did that at the very beginning of the movie. You're paying for it.
Yeah, and again, this film with its wonderful double wordplay, there was a scene earlier when he was lying, as in not telling the truth in bed, where he's in his suit, rustling the bed to make it look like he was in it. He has done that, and now he gets to do it again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, this script and just all the wordplay, just brilliant.
Hosted by my own patron. So Dan goes home and he tells Ellen he'll stay with her forever, which I took to be very ominous. I was like, child or father will die in this movie when that was said, because I had not seen this. Again, this was a blind spot in my 80s. Where I was born in '88, so this was made when I was -1.
I think it was released the year before.
It was, I was -1 in this movie. That's not brag. That's just that happened. So and I grew up in a very Christian household. I did not see R-rated movies for 16 years. So
oh wow!
This was not
wow, that would make you as old as Alex Forrest was in the film. Oh my God! Anyway,
this is my first R-rated movie. movie was?
What was it?
It was, I'll give you a quote from it. "Get off my plane. Stuck in Harrison Ford, Air Force One, pick somebody off."
Oh my God.
And I think she was the vice president of that movie, actually, Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
See, if I knew you back then, I'd have said, "Oh, I'm going to give you your first R-rated movie. You're watching Showgirls."
I bet it's real. Whoops.
Oh my God.
So he's back. He dotes on his little wounded wife, going to get her tea as a hot bath runs. This whole thing is shot very horror movie-ish. This is very psycho, shower, I mean, the knife even type of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's very slow build too, because it's like...
Because we know it's coming.
We know it's coming. We know Alex is coming back, and but it's like we're all hugs and hot baths, and oh my God, thank God that's done. And he's like checking the front door lock, and he's like, "Whew, locked." Like, but then as he's like going to get her tea in the kitchen, he's like, he sees the side door's unlocked, and he's like, "It's weird. I'll just lock that up or whatever." But surely that's not anything odd.
And anytime someone puts on tea is a bad sign. It's always a bad sign because you know it's going to.
And he's just like milling about downstairs. So he's got his like hands clasped behind his back by the fire as the tea goes and shit. Like Beth's upstairs being like, "Ah! Ah!" And he's just like, "That's weird that my ceiling's leaking."
Yeah. You had also made a comment before about what is he eating or something. Do y'all know what those are?
What? Wait.
Remember, he pulls something off.
It's like it look fruit roll up.
Fruit roll up. Yeah. Those are fruit roll ups. Those were very popular.
Oh yeah. I love fruit roll ups. Oh my God.
But like he's also like a man, like a 40-year-old man. So I'm like, is he having a fruit roll up?
Well, again, they keep equating the child and father. They keep doing it, and once again, yeah.
Very true. Because I'm like, this man. It's like there's like 5 minutes in this movie left, and he's like chomping a fruit roll up.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't. And it's not accidental. Again, just they're still problematizing his masculinity, like up until the very end of the film.
But you're absolutely right. Like with the beginning of this scene, after he goes to the cops, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll bring her in." The very first part of the next scene where they're at home with all of this, sweetness is he's on the phone with the cops. And he's like, "What do you mean you can't find her?" And you're like, "Oh, good Lord, here we go." Yeah. And then everything is calm. There's no musical score. Yeah. There's no music whatsoever. Water running.
But again,
quietness.
There's disturbed water. Her element is manifesting again, like a bleeding wall or an animated shadow.
And it's setting it up nicely because, like, you had missed it the first time. You said he opens the drawer. There's a gun. Yeah.
There's, for a brief moment, a Chekhov's gun literally flashed.
They flash a gun real quick.
Yes. And Beth is getting the bath ready with lots of steam. He's going upstairs and he's on his best behavior because, of course, he's like, she's back. Because this is the first time, like, she's home.
Back from the hospital
now,
after,
gotten back to it. And
in a car wreck.
So he's like, anything you need? Oh, a tea and pain
pills. He's downstairs for a while, though. Alex is upstairs first. So Beth is like doing like, "Oh my God, what a fun bath," and she's like clearing off her steamy mirror, and then all of a sudden like, what an iconic shot, like with fucking Glenn Close out in the background. And she's kind of standing there with a really like disturbed expression, like in a look I've not seen since like the guy in like The Sixth Sense, like first scene or something, or because she's not quite in like underwear or anything like where he is in The Sixth Sense type something, but it's a very like, I'm mentally ill and you should be concerned about what might happen next. She's
like, she's not in her 90s. It's not a gown.
It's white.
But it's like a I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's a very simple, almost pure garb. It's white, almost like a wedding dress,
and it's almost like see-through.
That's almost what I've described as a wedding dress, because it's not a slip, it's not like a dress, like it is a very.
But she looked like she put it on in New York and ran to the house. That's how haggard she looks in it. Yeah, and we see a close up of her feet, and they're all dusky, like she's been.
They're like zombies,
like
outside,
purple,
outside in the wild, not just outside, but in the wilderness.
Yes.
And like Alex has the knife. Like whenever Beth turns around, it's like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like there's somebody behind me. Like Alex has the knife. She has weird body language. Like she's kind of holding it down, like in a very almost nervous, awkward way.
She's not wielding it like a weapon, but it's on her like an affliction.
Well, not yet. He's talking about when she first arrived.
Like this, straight down, like with where she's holding it, and she asks Beth, like essentially, she's like, "Why are you still here?" Which is a fucked up thing to ask somebody's wife, like in their own house or something. Yeah, but like,
and again, this is just like you point out, the way that she asks it, it implies that this is Alex's house. Yeah, and Beth was told to leave some time ago and is still lingering, which of course is crazy. And as the audience, we of course realize why this is just nutty. But Again, it's brilliant. Her element has filled the bathroom. It's steam and heat, and of course, and so just by that logic, of course, she's curious as to why Beth is here. Her element is here. Mm-hmm. She has manifested in the house. Why is this other woman in her domain?
And with all of her antics, she was probably hoping that Beth would finally be like, you know what, this is crazy shit that you caused. I'm leaving.
Yeah. It's like I've already introduced myself to the child. I've already replaced you as the mother. Yeah. Why are you still here? And probably to Alex, it's both a menacing question and also an honest question. Like it's simultaneous.
Well, it's very honest because the next thing she says to her is something in that line. He tried to say goodbye to me last night, but he couldn't because he and I feel the same way about each other. And
according to her perspective, that's totally true.
Kind of like he didn't murder me. He tried to choke me out. He failed to say goodbye to me or whatever. It's a very fucked up perspective and statement line on it.
Yeah, it's logically consistent though, and that again. It's her perspective, and it's oddly enough a valid perspective. Like oddly enough, yes, I guess, yeah.
It's like, okay. So Alex kind of pins her in a corner with a knife and is kind of monologuing at her and is like, but she's cutting her own skin. Alex is literally cutting her own thigh to the point where it's dripping down on her fucked up feet or whatever's happening down there.
Alex has only been able to harm herself to this point, and she the times when she tries when she is in a physical altercation with Danny, it's usually oddly enough self-defense, strangely enough, but she
did try to attack him in the kitchen,
but failed against
right.
Danny, who is not, as we've seen, not the most potent man in existence, and so it's almost like, did she want to kill him? And I don't know. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she was just lunging at him dramatically. Again, we're presented with all these moments where it seems like what's happening is how we think that it is happening, but we're just not 100% if we were honest with ourselves about it. And it's like maybe she wasn't trying to kill him.
She could have pulled her punches.
And so up until this point, she is only even kidnapping Ellen, she's harming herself. She's never been directly attacking Beth. Even the car wreck wasn't direct.
Something coming up I want to discuss, but it's very true because I called this out and we watched it just a bit ago, and I noted on my own when I watched it, they're both in white, and at this point, Alex kind of starts just stabbing her in a corner, but they both really come out unbloodied. It's only Alex that has been bloodied or stabbed or injured to this point. They really make a point of Beth being held up and almost impenetrable, impregnable, I'll get to why, I suppose.
I think narratively and kind of like a narrative logic, Alex cannot assail Beth, just by the structure of it. Beth never compromises her virtue. She never problematizes her place as a good woman, and so by virtue of that, she cannot be harmed.
Yeah, and I think the
yeah.
lack of blood had to do with from seeing it from another perspective. She's cutting her thigh, but it's not like super deep. There's some blood that's falling down, but it's like from her thigh down. So there's a tiny bit on the knife, and then when she's stabbing Beth is protecting herself with her cast.
Yeah.
So at the end, when you see,
I know her arm was in.
when you see her shoot at the very end, you see the stab, the red punctures on the cast.
Yeah.
But it's only there.
Well, it's
a little smudgy, but not a whole lot.
And it's Alex's blood.
And it's Alex's blood. Yeah.
Previously.
But she's protecting it with her
Which is
cast.
very true. Yeah, Beth is in a pure like Snow White bathrobe type of thing.
Yeah, and then she escapes because of the heavy cast. She swings it and hits her, which causes her to fly away from her, and that's when Michael Douglas grabs her.
Yeah.
And slams her head to the mirror and breaks it. I don't know if we mentioned this. There's a lot of mirror and window breakage in this movie.
Yeah.
Because when he's like chasing her and throwing her around in Alex's apartment, there's like just glass about. There's other like, I don't know if that's necessarily a motif. You could probably tie it loosely back to water or something if you want, but it's just like another mirror bites the fucking dust here. And just slams her head into it.
Well, glass a number of times is a real palpable barrier. Like when she's looking at the family and gets nauseous, it's through glass.
True.
And so glass was a potent obstacle to her.
When he's shoving her face up against it. The first time.
When Danny is
there is lots of glass.
Alex is always she's always being bedeviled by glass.
Car crash and certain things. There's something like that. It's interesting, and I mean, like, whenever Dan's sort of trying to tackle her into the bathtub, I think she does get some blood off Dan, and so it's like she gets her licks in on Dan a bit, but not on Beth.
She can.
Because she slashes the knife and gets him in his shirt, and then I think slices him once or twice, which makes him fall into the tub.
And then he's drowning her at that point, controlling her knife arm, but she gets him a little bit, which I guess I just want to call out because I think that is important. But we sort of see Dan ultimately succeed at killing her. It takes a little bit.
Well, again, he tries to strangle her again. He tries.
This is take 2 in 2 nights.
And she's getting some swings in though, because she slices his shirt. He falls in the tub. He kicks her because she's going toward him. He kicks her. She flies back and hits another mirror as her arms fling up and hits all these frames off of the wall. And then as he's running toward her, she swings with all her force, and you hear the whoosh of her because he ducks and she misses, and that's when he grabs her and there's another struggle, and that's when he finally brings her to the tub.
Mirrors breaking. That I don't know. That is perhaps again. Alex has been 2 simultaneous complicated people this entire time, and now with the mirror breaking, there's no reflection. It's just one. It's just this. So the 2 people are gone, and it's just this Alex now. So
and the choking in the tub is very disturbing to watch.
Her eyes cloud up. It's
that was interesting. Oof. I wondered how they almost did that in the 80s. Like that had to be contacts or some shit. Like where they
and just good positioning of the camera and lighting and
cloudy, because and I mean even just her face with the non-cloudy eyes, just kind of looking up, a little bubble escaping or whatever. It's very. It's like the audience is like. You would almost be like, like you root the villain's dead, but it's like such a visceral moment where you're like,
it's
like
disturbing,
quiet, unsettling type thing more than anything, really. Like,
it is, and it's there's no sense of like victory.
It's not fun.
No,
it's not fun at all.
This is Dan putting to bed to rest literally what his transgressions or something.
It's just like maybe she was pregnant. And now she's being strangled in a bathtub. It's just like, whoa, geez. And it's just like, she was just desperately in love, and now she's being strangled in her lover's bathtub. It's
Which is a very true perspective to look at. And he did basically a double murder that was also like his fault in many ways. You could sort of lead to whether leading her on or whether doing the whole thing in the first place, as a married man. So it's nobody comes out looking like great in this movie, unless your name is Beth.
Other than Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth is just could not be more of a badass. Yeah.
Well, okay, and so let's get to this.
Yeah. Let's wrap up the film, shall we?
Yeah. As she's in the bathtub, like they honestly do leave it for a good moment where it's like, I think she's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Is she dead? Or I think she's dead. But then she pops back up. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I'm alive!
With a wonderful. It's like
It's like now it's a horror film.
Yeah.
Now it's a horror film.
But like, not half a second passes, and Beth just guns her the fuck down. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Not today, bitch.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because her shooting arm is fine. Like the cast got her non-shooting arm.
And you know what? And that needed to happen. It had to be Beth because Beth is the innocent. And Beth is the one.
And also,
that
it wasn't going to be
should have
Danny.
done it.
It wasn't going to be Danny. Danny's not going to fucking do
couldn't.
anything.
He could not
He
do it.
can't seal the goddamn deal. Of course, it's going to be Beth.
But Beth
Yeah, of
needed
course.
that. Beth needed that. We needed her to do that. She had to have something because look what happened to her family.
Yeah.
She had to do
Well,
that.
it was definitely great cathartic relief for the audience. I would say I definitely love that scene. That was maybe the one time where you could just be like, yeah, woo, yeah, cheer.
And I know you can find recordings from the audience watching
Yeah.
Fatal Attraction in the theater, and when that happens, of
pop
course,
off,
there's
yeah.
screaming. It's like watching a horror movie. Everyone's screaming, and then when Beth shoots her, there's huge applause from the audience.
Yeah.
So I have. Let's wrap this up. But I don't know if you've heard of the alternate ending or the first ending to this movie, because it changes a whole lot, and Beth is not quite as lionized or as iconized, I suppose I'll say in this.
Yeah.
But Beth, in her stone cold ass, single one shot, like I'm from the country, like with my parents out here in the country house, like shit, just fucking takes her out. And ultimately, can you imagine having to kill your spouse's like shitty hookup?
Well, Kyle, I can.
I can.
I got a really harrowing tale for you this last weekend. Jeez. Is it?
Off the podcast.
Yeah.
Legal implications.
Yeah.
But it's like a very much like a look what you made me do, Dan. Like, fucking like truly a hilarious scenario to be put in, like to the thought of this movie when it's like.
Well, and again, at the beginning of the film, the moment when Alex and Danny are having the drink together after the storm, and he quips, "Well, whatever happens, you're going to be the one that decides."
Yeah,
and
it's totally up to you, is what he said.
And it's that's just the women that he's drawn to, because Beth was the decider on this as well. I mean, geez, I'm glad he has these strong women in his life, because he's just a schmuck. Jeez.
He is like, I mean, we talk about this like he's just smart, and frankly is, and like Beth very much like gave me a confidently resigned, like shooting like the Indiana Jones, like a gun to a sword fight like situation.
Oh,
we're feeling close about something. Like, sword fight. And she's like,
try it, bitch. Try it.
Yeah.
But okay. Let's talk for a moment about Beth. Because Beth, at this point, firmly a saint for going back to Dan, because although I'm sure the trauma bonding doesn't hurt, like the things she went through with like, oh my god, kidnapping or whatever, but like, your man cheated on you with this woman. He indirectly got your child kidnapped. He got 2 cars wrecked of yours to various degrees. 100% of your cars, if we're counting.
Yeah, jeez.
Your innocent rabbit was murdered, and now your new house you just bought is haunted because you murdered the stalker in it.
Yeah.
Like,
Now that's your reputation in the neighborhood.
She might be playing this where she's gonna stalk them from beyond the grave at this point, knowing Alex.
Can't put it past her. You know.
This was her plan all along. So like, but poor Beth. I just can't imagine having to be like, I was cheated on, but also kidnapping, 2 cars, house, rabbit, like all these fucking things where you're just like,
I can explain.
I leave you for 1 weekend.
right. One fucking weekend.
1 weekend.
Jesus. And he fucks crazy pussy and almost destroys their family and ges her killed and gets child abducted. Jesus.
Well, there was one thing that we left out, which was after she there's a moment where Dan goes to check on her, and she's in the hospital, and she's there, and he has to do this walk of shame because now, of course, her parents know all the drama.
Yeah, they're giving him the evil eye.
Giving him the evil eye, but he doesn't care. He walks in there. So I'm trying to redeem Beth here because this is what happens, and it's a very touching moment. He walks in there. He is happy that she's okay. He goes over there. Are you okay? The dad gives him the evil eye. The mom really doesn't do much. She's just like, she's in there. And he goes in there, and he falls to his knees, and he is just holding her hand like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she looks at him and she smiles, letting him know he's okay. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Again, when we were talking about no words, it's just all looks. And then her smile fades and it becomes a frown because she's sad. She's like, why did you have to look at what you did to us? And he feels it and he starts, looking down, and her hand grips his hand. And that's when he loses it and starts crying because he's like, that's her saying, I forgive you. I forgive you because, yes, you did this terrible stuff, but because of now the things that are happening really have little to do with you. It's because of what she's doing. You've tried to end it. So all you've really done was this. So now she understands with Alex's craziness. She's like, okay, now I can. That really was not you. Yes, the source was what you did, but I understand. And now I get that she is a crazy lunatic. You had a terrible pick by picking her of all people. So I can get over it because you came to see me, which shows that you cared for me.
Yeah.
And everything else.
Well, what's scary is outside, not inside with them, that the problem is external.
Yeah, so that's how I saw it.
Sure.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, again, I express through humor marveling at Beth's staying with him at the end, but the last few scenes of the movie are essentially like, wow, like you're just totally like back with him, like what a fun look at us, a family again type something. And so I partially bring that up to say, do you know anything about the original ending of this movie or what it was going to be?
Yes.
Okay, so you do. Do you?
I do.
I don't actually. No. What?
So this is where I thought the movie was going whenever I saw that silent scene for like 2 minutes when he puts his knife down, and I'm like, oh my God, you just left a knife with your fingerprints on it. So the original movie and plan here was for Glenn Close to essentially take that knife with his fingerprints and frame him as she kills herself while Madame Butterfly plays in the background. Like 1-to-1 almost mapping Madame Butterfly at that point for like, I have committed seppuku and you and your child and wife that you have left me for are now doing this. But the audience fucking hated that. Like it was like an icebox, and it was almost the way they reported that the director and writer were like, it was like we were rubbing people's noses and the characters that they had come to like root for and support had like ultimately failed and whatever. And so this is why Beth gets very lionized in the way, because they did reshoots. They brought it back months later, and Glenn Close fought for weeks or months, I forget here, but she essentially was like, no, I really think my character would have done the suicide, would have done like this, something, she wouldn't have been violent and attacked people. She didn't think she would have attacked Beth, and ultimately they convinced her like to do it.
She hated it. She was like, no, this is terrible.
That, but they paid millions of dollars for reshoots and all sorts of things. I'm sure she got her palms greased or whatever, but essentially what they came to say Beth represented when she shot her at the end and was done was the American family and the saving of that. And so she shot the adulterous whore. This is what I'm telling you. Like, this is where 1987 went, and like where test audiences and like actual like feelings and morals of the time went. They had the lionized American woman who was wrong shoot the adulterous whore, and then was done with it. And essentially, instead of a tragic, sort of more sympathetic look upon Alex, the way the original ending would have went,
and more poetic, like an artistic,
operatic,
it's very operatic. Because in 2014 they brought a stage show back of Fatal Attraction, or back I say, but like they did a stage show of like a Broadway-esque show. They used the original ending in this sense, and so it is it's not like it's disappointing to see that ending of like what I watched, but it was almost confusing or almost too neatly cleaned up. And so when I went looking later, it did make sense to be like, oh, okay, I see like why this would have happened. And they were very much like, people wanted to see Alex punished. Like the director, when he talks about regrets about this movie, was he did see people be like, die whore, like just, like stupid things, or just like very almost. He felt it was a little unsympathetic towards Alex's whatever, but I mean, the writer was like, never saw her as a villain, never something. And so it is a very interesting, like, from the writer's perspective, the person that wrote this story, this is just two almost negotiable points of view or understandable points of view type something versus what we ultimately got a product of in the end.
Sure. And the extension of the alternate ending was she was going to know that his fingerprints were on the knife. Fingerprints were on the knife. She was going to kill himself. Then in the story, the cops were going to go to arrest him. As they're taking him away, they arrest him. Beth goes up into his den and finds the cassette and plays the cassette, and it shows proof that Alex, I think, confesses that she's going to kill herself. And so then she takes that to the cops, and then they set him free, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking of that ending, I thought to myself, I would have been disappointed too, because the suspense and the buildup is so good that would have just been sort of like a kind of ending. I needed a big ending.
I would have hated that ending. I would have hated
it. Really did.
God, I mean, it cheats Alex. It cheats her of her drama and her power, that she exhibits just without restraint in the entire film. And then the
reshoots make Beth a non-passive character as well, because frankly, again, right up until about the end of the movie where the reshoot started, she doesn't have a name. And it is where she gets to be the ultimate killer and the ultimate resolver of justice. And like, they say because people cheered whenever Beth did the line of like, if you come near my fucking family again, I'll kill you, bitch. And so people were like, that was when they were like, we have to reshoot this to be like, oh my God, people love Beth. People love like the reshoot type something. And so it's just interesting from a theory standpoint to be like, if the audience wasn't involved or we didn't have these live reactions where the story would have landed, and it wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
It's fully based on audience reactions where we firmly ultimately landed here.
And the other big controversy with the final ending that they ended up getting, which is the one that we saw, is the controversy was, but she was pregnant, and like everything you were saying, and it was, partly his doing. And so the controversy was, yes, she's a nut job, but he also did it. And then people say, but they both agreed. Who actually did the wrong? Who broke the rule? And they're like, well, it comes down to that discrete agreement. That's what it came down to, and that's where the controversy is, where people agree and disagree. And that's one of the reasons why the movie's made it so big, is people have their theory on it. And I think it's a great way to look at it.
It's just tough because like Glenn Close, again, she really did disagree with it. Like I have a quote from her where she was like, when I heard that they wanted to make me into basically a psychopath where I go after somebody with a knife rather than somebody who was tragically like self-destructive and basically tragic, it was a profound problem for me because I did a lot of research about the character, like, and this is an interview with Oprah, so she told Oprah, but so to be brought back 6 months later and be told you're going to be totally changed that character, like it was very hard. And so she said she fought against it for 3 weeks. I remember they had meetings. She said she was so mad type stuff. So it was a very close character to close.
Yeah.
But no, but it's just like, I mean, that is an odd thing to think back, to be like, to have to come back, like you're proud of your work, and then like, actually that sucks.
But see, this is where I have to say, when I say fucking actors, is the actors are seeing it as their performance. Everyone else is seeing it as, we have to market this. We have to do this for as a whole. This is where we have to really change things for the sake of the movie. This is not an art piece that's just going to be there for people to look at. And no, we're making this to make money, and this is what the audience is telling us. So we have to change it. So get over it, actor. You are wrong.
And also just to make it, just to elevate it. When it's again, I'm just trying to think of all the ways I hate this alternate ending. Like to hear it described, it makes Alex just a sad character, and that's it. Just a sad character. It exonerates Danny first by Alex's death, and then by Beth finding the evidence that gets him off the hook, and it's just it's so cliched and cheesy.
That part online, but like I do think it's so when you talk about all of that specifically, the 2014 stage version, the movie they put in, they call out specifically they made Alex more sympathetic, they made Dan more blameworthy, and they returned that original ending to the point where like it is very Madame Butterfly, but I think it is much more done in the movie where Dan is a little more blameless and Alex is a little more crazy. But I don't know how much of that stems from potentially editing after the fact too, because they might have changed something other side from just a little bit of the ending or whatever. But
sure, yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting just to think about the two different ways it could have gone, because one is much more poetic and tragic, where one is more slashery and American-y and like neatly tied up and stuff.
Yeah, it has a neat bow on it and a happy ending and roll credits, and it's just
last year there was another version of it that came out like on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
It's a series.
Paramount.
Series, yeah.
And Tommy and I watched the first episode. We stopped watching it because it made Alex look like this vixen that's just on the prowl. And the moment she sees Dan, she like does this little flirty, sexy eye thing, and we're like, that's not her. Yeah. That's not her. We're gonna not watch this, and we didn't.
I didn't have time to watch ultimately. Like I found out. I knew that way back in 2015 they developed this with Fox. Like this was supposed to be like a project that was coming out on the heels of the play. It was like Fatal Attraction's go time, but it took until 2023, 8 years later, and it came out on Paramount Plus. And so I did not watch it because it kind of came out with a whimper as opposed to a big hype bang or something because of that, because it had been kicked around and shuffled and like ultimately whatever. I didn't know they used the same characters. I thought they were trying to tell a different story. So that's interesting to even hear that they're using the same people, I guess. But
we tried to watch a few episodes, and it's just
no. It was the first one that we thought, no, this is all wrong.
Yeah, and it's just and the Fatal Attraction. It's 2 hours of opera and poetry and very clever wordplay and symbolism and complex characters with no clear theory to guide how you're supposed to understand it. Like you're just you have to try to figure this out like the characters, and you have only your perspective like the characters. And when you try to take something like that and make a miniseries, it's like diluting poetry to make bad prose, and it just
it was lazy writing. It was like clearly a good guy and a bad guy, and that was
exactly.
Like,
they disambiguated it, and that was the worst part of it. The ambiguity is where that film is where the film lives. It's how just intriguingly ambiguous things are. Like you have things that are contradictory about characters that are happening simultaneously with them, and it makes total sense. And to take that away, it's like what is this now? What is Fatal Attraction without that? I don't know. And that's why we didn't get through the series.
I'm very close, or we're very close. I'm excited to talk about the director because he has like thoughts on sort of this whole genre. He does, like I said, like he has like 13 directing credits, and like half of them are these like movies that are like romantic, stalker edgery.
He's clearly got something on his mind.
He does, and he talks about it. So like, let's talk about cast and crew type thing. I really only want to talk about a few people: Michael Douglas, Glenn Close, and then the director type something. I don't think there were too many else that like really jumped out. I had a whole bunch going on here. Beth was kind of a character, and really other than that you have like schmuck guy. Like there's not a whole lot. This is a pretty tight like cast movie in the sense of a small bit. So like let's talk Michael Douglas. He played Dan Gallagher in the movie. He's most known for Wall Street, for Fatal Attraction, Romancing the Stone, and he was in one episode of Will and Grace. I only call that out because Glenn Close was also in precisely one episode of Will and Grace. I was reading through their IMDb bullshit. But funny enough, Michael Douglas was filming Wall Street, his other big movie he's known for, at the exact fucking same time as this movie. He would alternate weeks on it, but they were both shot in New York, so he didn't really have to like changed his look up or like his locale or whatever. But like he was playing Gordon Gekko every other week as he was playing Dan Gallagher here.
Wow.
Which is a funny,
That's
interesting
crazy.
note. Like,
Wow.
For both of these being quite big cultural touchstones or whatever on that. So he has 68 acting credits, which honestly I found kind of low since he debuted in 1966. Like he's been doing stuff for a while, but he also has that Martin Sheen, Emilio, vaguely look something that can pop up here and there. There were a few archetypes of that kind of came around, but he's still out there doing this and that. Like he has a recent Wall Street sequel, and he's in the Ant-Man series of films in Marvel. But he's 80 years old at this time, so like he's still.
And he's still married to Catherine Zeta-Jones, I think.
I don't think so. I think
No?
they divorced around like he had like oral or throat cancer or something at the time, and then they were also on the outs. But like I'm pretty sure he's done with that.
Gotcha.
So,
Didn't know that.
poor him. Yeah, he didn't entrap that pussy or whatever.
Hey, oh. Oof. Jeez.
But he's doing that. So Glenn Close, I will call out as she's one of the most 5 Oscar-nominated actresses in history in the Academy. She literally holds the record most times nominated without receiving a win at 8. She's tied with a British man named Peter O'Toole if you were to do actress and actresses, but
yes.
they're both the only 2 that can do that. Do you know who won Best Actress the year that she lost the Best Actress nomination she had for Fatal Attraction?
Who?
No.
Cher!
Oh! Was it for Moonstruck?
It was, I think, for Moonstruck, yeah. Like, she, Cher, out there winning an Academy Award. But fucking Glenn Close debuted in 1975 at her first credit and has 106 acting credits, which is more in line with what I'd expect.
Oof, yeah.
Particularly with Michael Douglas or anything, but
Yeah.
she's most known for Fatal Attraction, 101 Dalmatians, The Wife, and also being in exactly one episode of Will and Grace.
She was also recently in The Deliverance.
Yeah.
She's been in so much. Frankly, it was
Yeah.
apparently down to 106.
Yeah.
She's been in things from Hook to Hamlet. She also, like Michael Douglas mentioned, is in the MCU. She's in Guardians of the Galaxy as the leader of the Nova Corps, which, unless you're a big old nerd, probably don't care about. If you're a Richard Rider head, good for you. But she is also still out there doing this and that and working, having 7 projects between 2024 and 2025. She is 78 years old, so really putting me to shame. I feel like I'll be retired. Like, whatever. But the economy's shitty, so maybe they're still out there
Yeah.
doing what they need.
Inflation's a bitch.
Get that
Jeez.
mansion mortgage, Glenn. But, again, Glenn Close has lost many Academy Awards, including all of them. So she has a great quote where she says, "I've often been mistaken for Meryl Streep, but never on Oscar night."
Hey, oh.
Funny.
So bless her. Yeah,
That's funny.
She's lovely. But all right, let's talk about Adrian Lin. This fucking guy. Do you know anything
It's
about
pronounced
Adrian?
Line.
Line. Okay, it is L-Y-N.
First of all, he knows that.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Adrian Lyne.
Adrian Lyne. He really has a type of movie he likes to direct, with it being a sort of risque, torrid love affair type thing with some edge. Some films in that catalog that meet that are 9.5 Weeks. He has Indecent Proposal, Unfaithful, Lolita. If you need some sexual-based films in there with some edge.
When Unfaithful came out, they were saying the tagline was, "This time it's her turn."
Yeah, so that's Diane Lane, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so.
I have not seen the 97 Lolita production.
Oh, I haven't either.
I've seen Stanley Kubrick's, which is incredible. But I have not seen this one.
So, you remember how I told you about how he bullied a toddler, right?
Yes, you did mention
Yes.
that. I'm still harrowed by it.
He also bullied fucking Kim Basinger.
Basinger.
Basinger. Sorry.
Look at you know your pronunciations.
During the
Hey.
shooting of that's a Family Guy joke. I'm sorry, where he just fucking like goes to Kim But He used emotionally manipulative tactics on Kim Basinger during shooting of one of these movies to elicit the performance he wanted from the somewhat new actress, which later got him sort of criticized harshly. I mentioned the yelling of the child bit to make them cry, to mention that he's kind of a hands-on director to tie back to the statements, which is kind of trying to bring it out of them like rags or sponges, those performances, get it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
A slap across the face is hands-on, for sure.
So,
Jeez.
just imagine if you're an actor, just the director just screaming at you behind the thing, and then you're crying.
I can totally imagine that. Yes.
Now, film.
Yes.
Now that you're weeping about
I can totally imagine slapping an actor, throwing a bottle at their head. Yes, all of those things.
I don't know how you're
Yes.
going to think of this.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yes.
Would you like to take a moment to
All the time.
to fantasize,
Yes.
You need to pull out one example
luridly
from your,
fantasize about this?
Stupid actor. Well, so Line's frequent exploration of infidelity in his films stems from a fascination with complexities of human desire and the arbitrary nature of adultery. This all comes from an interview and stuff with him. He often presents these themes in a morally ambiguous context, as we've talked about. This is gray. Who made the wrong? Who did the whatever here thing? Whatever. Prompting audiences to question the justification for such behavior and the consequences of giving in to such forbidden passions, which again led into sort of the original ending versus the not. Like it was more like his vision versus this or that. But he talks about a few points of it, like exploring the human condition. He kind of delves into the fragility of relationships, the allure of temptation, which obviously we saw. I mean, like, he was living a perfectly happy life here, Dan, but he was tempted by Alex, and the potential for passion to lead into obsession or revenge, which is absolutely mapped on this movie. He talks about, as another one of his points, moral ambiguity. He loves that. He avoids making easy judgments about his characters, presenting them as flawed individuals driven by a mix of desire, boredom, unmet needs type stuff, which we see in Alex. I mean, she's just she doesn't have a lot going on in her life, and so she just picks that up. He talks about the arbitrary nature of adultery, which is when Lyne stated he is drawn to the idea that affairs can happen unexpectedly, even in seemingly stable marriages, highlighting the unpredictable nature of the human desires. And the last bit is the consequences stuff he talks about, where his films often explore the repercussions of adultery, from emotional turmoil to violence, showcasing the destructive potential of such behavior, which...
Wow.
Seeing his catalog of films, yes, he does. He certainly does.
I would say this has culminated rather completely with Fatal Attraction. So there you go.
And that was, I think, one of his earlier ones. Like, I mean, he did, what is this? Indecent Proposal, Unfaithful. I mean, those things that came later in that regard. So, I mean, it's certainly all those things, every one of those maps directly onto.
Well, and Lolita is definitely a very complicated story about an older man's obsession with a underage girl and the complex nature of desire between the two on that. So,
I was stunned seeing this guy's catalog. I was like, he has a type.
Well, those are really interesing subjects to write about, or to direct.
It makes me wonder what happened in his own life, I guess. I couldn't find that in an interview, but like, if you're writing one movie about infidelity, cool. But if you write 6 or like you're directing 6, there's got to be something here.
It's like, is he trying to work something out? Is he trying to figure something out here?
And before we forget, Kyle, I wrote down something that you wanted a reminder of, something about Michael Douglas playing dead.
Well, I think that was really in part where his, the heart attack, the dying, the father thing we talked about then here.
Oh, okay. Did we already talk about it then?
My notes on this, but
I just wanted to remind you because you said remind me later.
And in that of I think I had that one. So let's talk a little bit about the mull this over, at least if you have a moment. Let's talk gayest part of the movie.
Yes.
And then we'll talk straightest part of the movie.
Yes.
Whatever. I can go first if we need. I'll give you a moment on that. I wrote stuff down. I tended to say the gayest part of this movie was the Michael Douglas to female nudity ratio. Some more Michael Douglas's ass, as I count that as a blessing and win for the gays. And as my straightest part, I sort of had Beth both defending her marriage and in one fell swoop showing off that implied smaller town skill set by just one-shotting Alex with a gun and just blowing her away in an American representation of the family as stated by the director. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's definitely the most American scene for sure.
Yeah.
Just
I think the gayest part of it was honestly the fight between these strong women, fighting for what they want, and also just Glenn Close going crazy. It's almost like why gay men love Mommy Dearest, and these crazy women that are so strong and just go nuts. We love that. And so what gay person's not going to love that? But if we wanted something simpler, the phone call on the phone with the queen going, "Oh, my place or yours." That was pretty gay. That was
like the gay of the film. Yeah, just a sassy operator.
Yeah. And I think the straightest part of the film was probably like the guys with their banter, him and his friend, just being very, I don't know, just being very Reagan era. Let's make fun of anything that's not white and American. That was the straightest part of it, because they made fun of the Japanese people and stuff, and just like straight white heterosexual men would do.
The two schmucks.
Yeah. So
white.
Those are mine.
Schmucks, sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think what the gayest moment.
Schmuck friend was a pretty aggressively. I mean, I almost hesitated. I thought about that in my straightest part. I don't want to put that upon straight people. I don't be like straight people are schmucks. But he was just a very, I don't know, iconography, misogynistic, almost uncaring towards many women. And again, this is almost representationally of that generation and era, or decade type straight. I'm not hanging this albatross with this millstone on you straight people, but there are a little less sensibilities back in certain eras or generations or decades or whatever else.
Especially during the 80s.
And we cling on to the tiny gay representation we can get. I don't know if you heard our Groundhog Day episode. Yeah, there's one gay waiter, and I definitely have a headcanon that Bill Murray fucked that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. You convinced me. Of it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of an additional gay moment, or
it's kind of hard. There's really not a lot here to deal with, frankly, because I did have to sort of think long and hard on this type of situation. It's just there's really not much to play with, frankly, in that regard, and so it's whatever. It's 1987. We were barely allowed to be on screen yet.
Maybe thinking that you're gonna go to the theater with your love interest after you've shown them that you're an absolute insane crazy bitch. Is that the gayest moment? That might be the gayest moment.
Or Alex being a lesbian, well, we had a good weekend together, let's move in, right? Life together starts now, right?
Just short of showing up with a U-Haul, right? Yeah, for real. Yeah, all right.
Okay, so I have some of this trivia stuff I have covered as we went. I'm getting a little better at doing that as we go. One of the bits Glenn Close wanted to play against type for this movie. This was a sort of different piece for her. She really hadn't played sexy to date. She was kind of more Oscar bait period pieces, this or that, and it was a bit more wild or something for her. So there was a bit of that. We covered the alternate version, the stage type stuff. We did the show. Yeah, the show was that show was killed in 2017, and 6 years later, Zombie Project is on Paramount Plus, which is why I didn't check it out. Frankly, I was it's. You finally carried that to term.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to remake this movie because it's so good the way it is.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. And Paramount does too, which is why, again, they bought all the copies of the previous movie that was kind of like it and destroyed them to be you can't make this movie because actually.
That is really...
Isn't that wild?
That is kind of, yeah.
That I had to look it up to be is that fucking true? Who does that?
I'm just trying to think of why. What's the market strategy, or was it a legal requirement? I don't know.
I guess it just happened back then, yeah.
Or it was maybe similar enough they didn't want it existing with them wanting to release this because then they'd be accused of like copying it or like or
this is around
rehashing it. I don't know.
The E.T. video game came out, and then it was so shitty they bought up all the copies and put them in a landfill. So I don't know if you just
That was just
happened back
That's just something people did then. just as a dramatic gesture. I'm going to buy up all the copies of it.
landfill.
They're all mine now. Yeah.
Glenn Close is on record multiple times in reviews as saying she has the framed knife from the movie and it's hanging in her kitchen.
Nice.
She says it reminds us
girl.
to not stay that long.
Atta girl. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Nice.
I found this repeated in at least 6 different sources. I couldn't find an original, but apparently over 20 directors passed on directing this movie where they found it. They even had a couple of bigger names like Brian De Palma and some people attached. But I think the 2 bigger names they had attached wanted Michael Douglas off the project, and they basically picked Michael Douglas over the director.
Okay.
And so they had him to a bit. I do have the people they almost cast as them, and some of these are really fucking funny. It's like, in hindsight, I do really love kind of that looking at like what the movie could have been if it were like this actress and this actor or something. But we did the Wolf of Wall Street, blah, blah. When reshooting the ending, which again Glenn Close was opposed to, she was like, no, let's not fucking reshoot the ending. Glenn Close got a concussion when her head was slammed against a mirror, and while being treated, she discovered she was pregnant with her daughter, Anne Stark.
Wow.
Wow.
Whoa, jeez.
In a fun little,
Damn.
sort of dovetail, was Alex pregnant or not?
Well,
who knows? But
Glenn Close sure as shit was. Yeah.
Glenn Close fucking was.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right.
1987 was actually the year of the rabbit and the Chinese Zodiac.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that's wow. Good job, producers. Yeah, good job.
And yes, the proper UK term body boiler for soccer sex came from this movie.
Yes.
Okay.
That's great.
Let's talk about who could have been in this movie. Because the very top of this list name that I saw that were considered for Dan Gallagher and Michael Douglas's part was O.J. Simpson.
Oh my god.
What? Oh my God.
Wow. Oh my god.
Are you shitting me?
I don't know how far that went necessarily.
OG, oh my
It's
God.
definitely in the list because
What?
they have like Dustin Hoffman, Martin Sheen, Dan Aykroyd, like Mel Gibson. They have like a whole giant list.
Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah, they have
What?
Stallone. Like there's
What?
honestly a massive list where I was like, I don't know how serious this was, but I scrolled that whole list and I was like, OJ, fatal attraction, you say, with a knife, like.
Oh my God.
So they talked about a few like people that were some more prominent that were sort of interviewing for Alex, and like they had like Sharon Stone, Ellen Barkin, but like Kirstie Alley came up as a big name. Can you imagine this fucking movie with O.J. Simpson and Kirstie Alley? It's like Dan and Alex here playing.
Oh my god.
Jeez, what a mess that would have been. God.
If ever you think casting doesn't matter, just go back and look sometimes at who could have played people in your favorite movies. Because
Oh wow.
O.J. Simpson and
Christ's
Kirstie
sake.
Alley.
They did say under Alex Sigourney Weaver, which I thought probably could have pulled that off in a decent
Yeah.
way. And they have Michelle Pfeiffer and some things, like in like Sharon Stone, whose vag is out anywhere. Like obviously Sharon Stone doesn't give a fuck about if her titties are out in a movie. Like also in that.
Michelle Pfeiffer would have been an interesting choice.
I thought she would have done well. And one of the ones, they don't really
Yeah.
mention many for Beth, but one of the ones that they mentioned out of like 2 or 3 I saw was Annie McDowell out of Groundhog Day. She
Yeah.
would have done a great,
Yeah.
sweet, wronged wife, Beth, frankly.
Oh, that would make sense. She could have, yeah.
I could see that.
But I mean, okay, O.J. Simpson, yeah, that's wild. Dan Aykroyd, really?
Well, they have like Arnold Schwarzenegger on the list as long as Tom Hanks. Like, I really wonder like how refined of a list that was. Like, because God, that sounds like a scattershot list type thing. But like,
Were they threatening to cast Arnold Schwarzenegger? It's like, oh, just watch me do it. Yeah.
well, they have
yeah.
like Rick Moranis on the list too. Like, they talk about being a like pretty emasculated man. I can
Oh,
this big
poor
like
guy.
tugged and pulled between like this.
Oh man. Oh, that's wild. Jesus. Okay. It just darkest timeline. Man.
Be thankful.
Yeah.
That movie. Kirstie Alley alone as Alex would have tickled me pink.
Oh man. Sigourney Weaver. I mean, Sigourney Weaver, great actor. I perhaps.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
her.
I can see it.
It's interesting to think about that one.
Yeah.
That one I feel like could have been pulled off. But yeah, like Glenn Close's like eyes in this, like just sort of like
Yeah.
manic eye energy is so odd in this movie.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine. Yeah,
I'm
what else,
I'm trying to imagine any of these other actresses doing the facial expressions like Glenn Close was doing in it that were just. I mean, they were perfect because they didn't so much look just like wackadoo, but just
Like she's there in her head. Like
Yeah.
she's there.
crazy, not like in a funny way, but just like whoa,
Yeah.
damn, whoa,
Something wrong with her.
damn, yeah. That's the thing that I'm trying to imagine Sigourney Weaver doing, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
it's evolving or having that. I don't know.
So.
It would have been interesting, but that's pretty much all I have on trivia bits. Like I said, I covered quite a bit of them as we sort of went there. Is there anything left that you say or closing thoughts on Fatal Attraction here?
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you to both of you for covering this movie because it's my favorite movie of all time. And also, after this movie came out, there were movies like Basic Instinct, Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Yeah.
That try to go as wacko as this movie, and this movie is untouched. There can be crazy, he cheated on me and this woman is psychotic, but none of them can touch this movie to this day. I have not seen a movie that compares to it when it comes to the fact that it almost turns into a horror movie. So because of that, this movie is just very special to me, and the reason why it's my favorite movie of all time is just because of the structure of it and the building of suspense building up to the climax is just perfect.
Masterful.
This film builds tension in a way that is so elegant and just so, again, masterfully rendered. There are no supernatural elements, but it sure as hell feels like it could become that at any moment. Just because Glenn Close delivers a performance that is so menacing, but also mysterious too, and this is just all done with good writing and excellent directing, just all these bread and butter elements, but it just.
The performances.
But also as we touched on the writing. Oh my God! Just this, the writing for this film is so just nuanced and intelligent, and it's filled with so much just raw drama, but just granular wordplay and word games. It's very intelligent. It's very sophisticated, and for as wild and passionate as it is, it's still very adult. It's very adult. It's a sophisticated film for adults. And
I would say that even if there wasn't tits and ass out, it is a very you have to understand the silences, the feelings, the putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, the whole situation. It's a very adult movie in that sense, and it's not just because it's vaguely, slightly more graphic at certain points in the hookup scenes, I guess.
Well, it's adult, and it's an adult horror because it invites you to challenge your perspective, which is something that most films just don't do, and they cannot accomplish this. And that's just yet another reason why this film is so brilliant, is that it actually really does. When you think about it, it's just, well, shit, I don't know if there was a clear theory presented about who is right and who is wrong, and I'm not entirely sure that Alex cannot be redeemed, and I'm just not entirely sure that Danny is all that great a guy, and it's just but I am convinced that this is all plausible, and this could happen in real life, and just. As crazy a film as it is, it's not supernatural, and it is plausible, and that's
very plausible. Yeah. I guess one thing I forgot to mention, the writer Dearden, he talks about how the way this came to him, and I mean, I told you about the visual diversion thing, this sort of 50-minute deal, but the basic concept of this whole thing was just what about the 1 in 100 affairs that don't go right? that are just like, you know, they're done, they're ended, they're whatever. Like, what if somebody like were to just like hang on or to come back or to just like, this is not a loss of life in the traditional horror film of like, oh my God, look at all those people being slaughtered. This is a loss of your life. This is somebody weaseling their way into your life.
Yeah.
Where you have a wife, a child, a family, a job, all these things that you think are safe.
Yeah, threatening your place in society, either your status or your place in your own family, right? I mean, these are all ways that you could be socially murdered and killed. You know, and that your ability to have the life that you want is denied you, and that's horrifying. I mean, Alex is just racked with existential dread. You know, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and the other great thing is, you know, like when we were talking about earlier about how you take the first 10, 15 minutes and you see someone cheat on their wife, but then somehow you're still invested in the story. You're not throwing it away going, I don't care what happens to him because look at what he did. No, it somehow keeps you invested, and not only invested, but then you're hooked to see what's going to happen. Yeah. And that is rare to find in a movie where the lead character does something terrible, you know, and you're still there to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of like lights up. It's not like he's like dead or dull in the first like opening scenes or whatever, but you just see him just having fun. And it's like, okay, let's see where that goes. And then, no, we're good, apparently. But, as it turns out,
yeah, I mean it's an adult horror in the way that, you know, as an adult you realize that pleasure can sometimes blow up in your face. You know, like these little dalliances can sometimes just become crazy things in your life, and it just how things can just spiral out of control, starting from seemingly nothing at all. You know, just. Yeah, again.
Or how you think you're such a small part of somebody's life, you just bungee jumped in, you fucked him or whatever, and you're gone, but now your hookup's obsessed over you or something. Like, it's a very...
Yeah, just...
You can't predict that.
Yeah, again, just a very sophisticated horror film in that the horror is based on misperception. You know, it's not based on elemental evil. It's not based on devils or monsters or anything like that. It's just based on misunderstanding, and it's based on miscommunication, and it's based on embarrassment and just again
with touches of obsession.
Yeah, well, but again, like the darker realms of, you know, the adult experience, like desperation, obsession, frustration, unrequited love, just
So what I would go back to is if you think about what they planned with the original ending and basically how Beth was not a character with agency. She wasn't the one gunning him down at the end type something. Yeah. I almost wonder if they would have given Beth a name in the original cut. Because frankly, they don't until the very end, and then the same scene where she's like, "Hi, I'm Beth Gallagher. Don't fucking talk to my family, I'll kill you." And it's like, that's the scene where she got applause. Oh my God, like, stuff. But like, otherwise, if she wasn't to be the ultimate one doing that and to like represent the American family type shit, I don't think Beth's character is ultimately that important to the story most. Like
yeah, with the alternative ending, she would have totally failed the Bechdel test.
Yes.
She would have been about nothing other than the man,
correct,
the main man in the film.
Yeah.
But with the ending that it ultimately had, she actually becomes a fully, she has full agency.
Right.
And just at that pivotal moment when we discover her name / she reclaims her title, you know, it's, again, I think I am going to watch this film, and I am going to like know when, because it's like, now that you said, it's like, man, I totally miss it. And that's an important part of the film, actually. And I actually totally missed it.
Yeah, it's taking, because if I'm like trying to capture their name down, because I'll fuck it up. I'm off, and I'm like, I'm like, Bill Murray, Phil, or whatever. Yeah, like, am I going to stand? And that's why I'm just like, why do I have mother / wife for like this whole fucking movie written down for her? Yeah, like,
yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Very neat. Cool. All right. Well, did we?
I think that's probably it. I mean, this film doesn't have a sequel, does it? There's not a. Nope. I didn't think so.
Not. You know, some films just don't need a sequel.
Which, you know, good. I just God, yeah, it seems like every movie I pick out, I'm like, oh, there's another one. There's something after that. Like,
I don't want this film rebooted. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want a 2025 version of it. It's perfect as it is.
I agree.
pretty neat, honestly. Like I said, it was one of my blind spots. I had not seen it to date, and so I always enjoy seeing something I've not seen. I do think it was a fun ride and a very interesting, suspenseful thriller in that regard. It was just a cool thing. Like I only knew Glenn Close through like child shit, like the 101 Dalmatians or whatever, because like I remember playing 20 Questions with my parents in the car, and I had Glenn Close in my mind, and they were like, "Is her hair blonde?" And I was like, "Nope," because I was thinking of her black and white hair from Dalmatians 101 or something. And like, ultimately, they were like, "What the fuck were you talking about?" Like, when I, like all these questions I confidently answered about Glenn Close as like an 8-year-old or something. Just like the one acting role I knew her in, and they were like thinking probably of this movie and others. So they were like, "What the fuck are you?" Okay. But I knew she was great even as a child, yeah. So, but yes, that's about all we have to say on this. I know we discussed a couple of movies potentially coming down the pipeline. I know you had a fervor in your heart to watch Armageddon.
Yeah.
First movie I cried at, so we can look at that one together.
Wow, we'll be approaching that from different perspectives, won't we?
I think that could be fun to do for sure.
Well, you know what? I cried when I saw it too. So there. So
When was the last time you saw it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it must have been at least 15, 20 years.
Okay, yeah.
I was like a middle schooler when I saw it.
Oh.
I was like, Bruce Willis sacrificed himself for Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, we'll probably have the same reaction when I introduced it to him like 3 years ago, and I thought, yeah, no, this did not age well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
We may put a brief hate episode together on a movie called Bring Her Back that unsettled us to our core. I think it meant to, so I don't think it missed its mark necessarily, but it was very uncomfortable.
It off-put me to my core.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
I was very off-put for a reason I don't want to give spoilers for
If
this.
that was their goal, they nailed it.
Yeah, but for one particular reason, I was very off-put.
So those are two that may be in the mix. I don't know. Maybe a movie like Barbarian or something else could be fun to do.
I don't know. I gotta say, I feel like we need to correct a certain imbalance. We have reviewed some films that just have white cast, just white cast, and nothing but white cast. I think we need to address this with our next film. I feel.
Literally have down. I was like, after we did Groundhog Day, I thought back and I was like, was there a single non-white person in that movie? And I don't think so. Like, I genuinely do not think there was.
In Groundhog Day, I don't think there is.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
I
Yeah.
combed that movie. I watched it twice, thinking back to all the scenes.
Yeah.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
An interesting point to bring up in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think we need to.
Well, you heard it here first. We're doing Sinners next.
Well, we need a film that's not just creamy white, just like white as a jar of mayonnaise. We gotta address this. So
true.
So stay tuned. More to come. All right. Well, Israel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Today.
We always enjoy your cinematic insights.
Yes.
It's a good film, and I'm glad we could take a look at one of your favorite pieces. As mentioned, when having guests on, we let them pick the video. We want them to enjoy it, be passionate about it, talk about it, and have all sorts of fun things to say. And so when we have other guests on, they will be picking their own film.
Yeah.
If you think it's a dumb movie, take it up with them.
Yeah. We're gonna let you send hate mail to them.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you their home address and a list of all their fears. So,
but as always, if you want to send feedbacks and whatever, talk about how much you love, hate us, suggest anything, how dumb our movie selections are, and
how terrible our interpretations are, how intellectually unrigorous and
how unmelanated our choices are. Anything you choose, really.
Yeah.
Tommy's not wrong.
Yeah. We got to fix this. So yes.
But we thank you as always for listening, and we will have you along for another ride the next time. We will let you know. Of course, there will be the email to reach out to, comments, feedback, video stuff. But we will be back. And so until next time,
Yeah.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Tommy, and this has been.
And Israel, is there anything actually, I forgot. Do you want to plug anything? Is there anywhere people can follow you on social media? Is there any project stuff you're doing,
yes.
type things that you would like to shout out?
Yes, the Gayborhood 6-episode series that I'm doing through the Dallas Voice LGBTQI plus newspaper is going to start coming out Pride Month, which is next month in June. And I am also going to be, I think, releasing by the end of the year a new and updated rebranding of Ticked Off. Yeah, with a new title, and also my film Businesswomen. Yeah.
I love businesswomen.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You're debating maybe like ticked off T-girls with knives, or maybe just totally different title.
Different, I
Is
think.
Willem in that one, or is she?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Willem is in that one.
Yes. Willem, noted drag queen. Belligerent presence in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also La Chancla del Diablo.
Chancla del Diablo, which is out now.
Film. And what are you under? Are you Luna Moon on Spotify or stuff? Or
Yes.
Yes.
Luna Moon, LOONA Moon, MOON. Look up the album Slutroactive.
Yes.
Retroactive.
Israel has a concept album out. So,
It's a novelty album. It's a little on the naughty side.
Yes.
So if you like naughty and you also like synthwave 80s type of vibe, but modern, you're gonna love the album.
Yes.
It's got a lot of earworms. I encourage you.
It is largely not safe for work, so be careful. Be careful about where you loudly blast it.
Do not play this with your children in the car.
or do, I don't know. Just they're gonna do some growing up real quick. So yeah, just be warned. Anyway, my name is Tommy.
I'm Kyle.
Israel.
Yes, and you've been listening to Video Head Cleaner. So
until next time, see you later.
bye, everybody.
Bye.